So to finish off this week, I thought we'd address something that most anti-feminists, most anti-SGWs and most skeptic clones said would happen if things didn't change reasonably. In that if you keep pushing an agenda that only favours one group over everyone else, while simultaneously dragging everyone else down to their level, eventually it would backfire. It's gotten to the point where people are getting angry that Trump wants to get rid of the affirmative action crap, which I totally support, in favour of meritocracy. Hell, if you want to, do it blind, and I believe Styx Hexenhammer said, do a double blind. No name, no race, only the results on the sheet. I have a strange feeling all those colleges are about to get flooded with all the Asian people in all their lands. How does that oppression feel now? Now, with what we intend to address today, we're going to be looking at employment, not education. I just wanted to add that in because, as always, whenever Donald Trump does something, it doesn't matter what it is. He could be tweeting that he's taking a shit, and there would be an essay-style article on it, complaining about how he is somehow marginalizing a group. In any case, the article comes from Slate.com. The rise of women-focused organizations promoting co-working workplace savviness and old-fashioned networking is confronting a new backlash. Lawsuits from men who say they are being unfairly excluded. Well, isn't that the inevitable consequence? Where once you had women wanting to create their own spaces and then wanting to involve themselves in men-only spaces, but retain their own spaces, that eventually once the men realized that they were being excluded, which is discrimination if, no matter how you try and paint it, they would eventually find their spine. Yale University, Yale, they are the university that are allowing a hunger protest to go on until the students get hungry, in which case they can eat, and then go back on their hunger strike. Right. And the University of Southern California are under investigation by the Department of Education for programs and scholarships for women. I wonder if either of these universities have had any investigations done under Title IX, or whether they have breached it in any way. If only there was a way I could find out. An organisation to get more women on the golf course, long a bastion of male power and a frequent locale for business deals, was sold and shut down after settling with a plaintiff for holding women-only events. Well, that is exclusionary. The head of Chick CEO, an organisation that hosted online resources for women starting their own businesses, downsized her company after settling a lawsuit alleging the group excluded men from networking events. And just to give this a little context, the 3 men that she settled with had paid a $20 admission fee to go to a event open to women, only to be turned away by Chick CEO, with 2 of them being members of the nation's oldest men's rights group, the National Coalition for Men, which is the NCFM, where one of them is in fact the president. Now, the tactic these men used falls in line with something called the Unruh Civil Rights Act, which is a piece of California legislation that specifically outlaws discrimination based on sex, race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, age, disability, medical condition, genetic information, marital status, or sexual orientation. Oh, California, you have opened yourselves up now to a lot of people now wanting to use this against you. And by the way, the settling out of court thing happened in 2016. It was a while ago, but it's a tactic that these particular men's rights groups are using, certainly in California, because, well, that law exists and prohibits discrimination. And yet, colleges actually go actively out of their way to do it. How interesting. And the Wing, an exclusive all-women co-working and social space, is under investigation by the New York City Commission on Human Rights for Gender Discrimination, which, for those who are interested, has an article linked to it that heavily places a lot of emphasis on how certain women felt isolated, and felt the need to create spaces for women to then be reabsorbed within the women community. That isn't even a joke, and it ends talking about what can only be assumed to be rape culture and patriarchy. I will, of course, link it below. It is quite the read. The most recent women's empowerment organisation to go public about getting hit with a gender discrimination lawsuit is Ladies Get Paid, a for-profit organisation that holds networking events and classes on negotiating salaries and raises. Well, just because men do it better doesn't mean it's all men, so it would be wise to offer that service to both men and women. Managing money, well, you can keep that one. And building confidence, something that is not, again, exclusive to women. Just saying, if you want to offer classes to help people, hashtag help all, or, hashtag help no one, hashtag no lives matter, hashtag Cthulhu and Magog 2020. After 2 men were denied entry to 2 women-only ladies get paid events in August and September 2017 in San Diego and Los Angeles, respectively, they filed 2 lawsuits under the California's Unruh Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of many, many characteristics. Oh dear, unless that act gets repealed, I can see this happening a lot more in the future, which is fantastic. In fact, I would encourage every state to have their own Unruh Act, because I think it's funny. Claire Wasserman, the director and founder of Ladies Get Paid, believes it was the cheeky language and smiley face she used on the Eventbrite invitation to the August event that attracted the ire of the plaintiffs. The invite said, "Bring friends, the more the merrier. Female-identifying non-binary folks are welcome. Sorry guys. I'll be honest with you, Miss Wasserman. You set yourself up to lose here." I've said that phrase a couple of times this week, but I am right. Generally speaking, if you go out of your way to discriminate, which has happened for many years, I remember it happening in 2015 with signs on dorm room doors saying "No white men permitted." You start discriminating, you sow the seeds of racism, you sow the seeds of sexism, you sow the seeds of anything really once you start excluding people based on arbitrary characteristics. One of the things I look forward to the most is that day when nobody gives so much as a fuck about any of these pathetic little details. And the only way to guarantee that is to vote for me in 2020. Magog. Delicious. Alfred Rava, the attorney in both suits, said it was Rich Allison, one of the plaintiffs, who brought the advertisement to him, along with his sex discrimination claim. It definitely caught my eye that his supposedly pro-diversity business, such as LGP, would be so stupid in the 21st century in the progressive state of California to actually kick men out of this event, just like LGB promised or threatened to do in its advertisement. There are so many big words in that, I'm not sure how to respond. But it is quite right. When you think of California, or, to some people, Commifornia, you think of it as a pro-diversity state, a progressive state. But the term progressive has lost a lot of meaning, and to be progressive somehow means to actively discriminate, cause. If you want to look somewhere where discrimination is quite rife, Berkeley is a fantastic place to look. Targeting women's empowerment events is an abuse of the law and part of a larger attack on the civil rights of vulnerable people that the Unruh Act was designed to protect, said the director of Gender Equity and LGBT Rights Program at Legal Aid at Work and an expert on gender discrimination. I would beg to differ, because while you claim they're using it as a sword, they're using it to point out your hypocrisy. And your hypocrisy is, you are setting up gender exclusionary events, and you're openly denying people access because of something as arbitrary as gender. It shouldn't matter. People in all walks of life need to be taught a skill like to negotiate a salary, to manage money, and to rebuild themselves after long-term unemployment or unemployment of any time. And I say that from personal experience. It is one of the very main reasons I started this channel, because after spending 4 years in one stretch, unemployed, I had no confidence, and it is something you could see in my earliest videos, because it is not something I could simply get. I had to rebuild, network, meet new people. Events like this aren't around where I live. Instead we have positive reinforcement, like toughen up, princess, which is hardly the most productive thing to hear from anyone, really. I'm going to need another drink. Anyway, tonight, 9:30 PM GMT, because I'm done with this article, I will be doing my stream on the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends show responding to Prime Minister's questions. The topic shall mostly be focused on the buses. That's not a joke. Oh, and there was one question about domestic violence and how it affects both men and women. So I will definitely be answering that question, because the fact it even got mentioned by a female MP is a huge deal. So I hope everyone has a lovely Thursday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your ass.
Imagine my shock